Hello guys, welcome to Redditor's Revenge. Here we post amazing revenge stories daily. And if you want more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned with us. Moving on to our today's story about the revenge OP took on her daughter's maths teacher after what he did to her daughter. Now story. Living when your husband is in prison is no easy task. For some context, our only 12-year-old daughter was always struggling at school. Elementary school was an absolute nightmare for her, and we spent so many sleepless nights trying to explain to her the most basic of things. No matter what we did, education was just not her strong point at all. When she was in 3rd grade, we moved schools because we thought that the problem may have been the teachers, and we moved her to a nicer school, but at last, it was still the same. The irony is, we moved schools 2 more times again until her current school was in 7th grade. Everyone warned us that middle school would be especially difficult for her if elementary was this bad, and it made sense. We were so worried when the year started that she would be failing again. Over the years though, she got a little bit better at other subjects, but it was math that was impossible for her. The year started and her dad and I were on our toes the first couple of weeks since things usually start late. We would ask her how everything was going and she would tell us that it was fine, but her word was never really trustworthy when it came to school. As we got a little bit deeper into the year, our fears rang true and we started getting calls from the school about her grades and in-class performance, especially in math. Her grades were lower than ever and she was at risk of actually failing. We got her a million tutors, but nothing was working. It got so bad that the principal called us in for a meeting. My husband and I went and we sat down with her and she started explaining to us the situation. She told us that our daughter feels like a special case. She showed us her grades and papers and quizzes and homework and told us that even though she was failing math and doing poorly in science and English, she was getting pretty good grades in social studies and excelling at PE. We met with the math and science teachers and they seemed like good enough educators. They told us about our daughter and how they were worried about her, and that she seemed lost in class. We were so confused and genuinely had no idea what to do until the principal suggested that we take our daughter for a checkup. She told us that our daughter may be dyslexic. We got so worried and went home that day and started doing intensive research about the disease, and everything made so much sense. We took our daughter to the doctor and she got diagnosed. We knew that she would have to start getting special education, but she needed to finish her school year, which we were still so worried about. One day, though, our daughter came home from school and gave us her quiz paper. It was a math quiz that she got an A. This was the first time she had ever gotten A, or anything like that in her life, and the intense feeling of happiness we felt was insane. We were so happy and excited that we took her to dinner in a fancy place and celebrated that one stupid quiz so hard that we called all of our friends and family to tell them. That night, we sat down with her and asked her how she did this. She told us that she studied the night before, but that the test itself was very easy. Something was definitely up, as there was no way she just decided to study all of a sudden and get an A, but we were too happy to care. We told her good job and hoped that it would happen again. A week passed without any quizzes, but every time we would ask her how her day was going, she seemed a little bit off. Our daughter was never the talking kind, though, and she rarely shared what she felt, so we understood that something may have been bothering her. When we asked her what was happening, she kept avoiding the question and telling us that someone was just bothering her at school for not doing very well. When we kept asking who, she wouldn't tell us. We thought it was a mean kid or a bully, as these things have always happened and will continue to happen. We were honestly more concerned with her grades, since she had always had kids she didn't get along with. It was exam week for her though, and even though we kept trying to convince her to let us help her study, she insisted on doing it herself. We thought that she had finally gotten the hang of things though, since she got that on the math quiz and got another B+ afterward. We tried to give her space and see if the key was letting her study alone and be productive. She stayed up in her room all day after she got back from school for an entire week, so we were excited by the possibility of her finally studying so well and acing her exams. Because both my husband and I worked, sometimes we would come home later than her. After a week of excitement and nervousness, it was her first exam, which was ironically math. She came home the day of the exam looking very troubled. We asked her how things went and she told us that the exam was very hard and she didn't know how she did. She seemed a bit off, but not in the usual sad way she always seemed when she got back from a math exam. Back then, she would come home crying and screaming that she was going to fail. We didn't know if it was because she aged a year or what, but something was up. A couple of days later, though, her result came back, and she got an A again. All 3 of us couldn't believe it, and again, we celebrated like crazy. We kept joking with her that she got so worried and afraid for nothing, and she told us that she knew she would do well even if the exam was hard. That night, though, we got a strange call from one of the parents at school. It was the mom of one of our daughter's friends, and she called us to congratulate us first on our daughter's good grade but to also voice her concern. She told us that our daughter was the only one in the entire class to get a grade other than a C, and that even the kids who were usually top of the class and absolute geniuses didn't get any higher than a C+. We didn't know exactly what she was implying, but we weren't happy about it. We told her that our daughter studied hard for the exam all week and that this was the fruit of her labor. She told us that her daughter told her that our daughter was literally on social media and texting every minute of every day of the entire week, and that there was no way she spent all that time studying. We both got quite angry at the accusation and told her that she was just jealous that our daughter got a higher grade than her daughter, and it quickly developed into a fight. She kept denying any ill intentions and told us that we should just check on our daughter's studying because something fishy was up. We were infuriated by that parent, but something did make sense. We asked all the other parents how their kids did on the exam, and it was true. None of them got higher than a C+. We asked our daughter how she got such a high mark, and she told us that she just studied. We knew when something was up with her, though, and that sometimes she looked a bit strange when she was lying. The rest of her exams went fine, though, but strangely, all of her other marks were in the C and B area. Even in her strongest subjects, she didn't get A, like math. We were so confused and started to investigate. We waited for her next exams and we decided to see if she was studying or not. It was the day before her next math exam, and we made some fake social media account to chat with her as if we were her friend, and it worked. She spent all night chatting and we heard the sound of videos coming from her room. There was no way she was studying. When the result of that exam came out, however, it was again an A, which was her highest grade. We talked to other parents and again, their kids all got low marks. We were so confused that we went to the principal again and asked to speak with the math teacher. We told him the entire situation and he told us that one day, our daughter suddenly became way better at math and was understanding and answering questions and equations in class very well. When we asked how this can happen so suddenly, he didn't have an answer. The math teacher gave us an uncomfortable vibe, though. He kept telling us that our daughter was his favorite student and that she had improved drastically. He told us that he credits some extra time he spent with her between classes to explaining to her some extra parts that helped her. We told him that we were grateful, but we still felt a little bit uneasy. We suspected that she might have been cheating, so we wanted to have a talk with her and see what was happening. Before we could do anything, though, as soon as we got home, we got another call from one of the parents. Again, she was asking us how our daughter got such a high grade even though she was doing terribly in class. We told her about the teacher and the extra practices he did with her between classes, but she told us that none of this was true and that our daughter and her daughter spend their time together between classes normally. Something was up and both our daughter and the teacher were lying. The parent also told us that the math teacher wanted to have a word with her daughter, but when she refused, he got angry and told her that she would be failing, even though she's a top student. Something was up with that guy, so we called the principal to explain these concerns, but she couldn't help us. We sat down with our daughter to ask her if she was cheating and to tell her that that was wrong, but it seemed like she wasn't. She swore that she never cheated, but she admitted to not studying before the exams when we told her that she was spending too much of her time on social media, and we told her about the whole fake account thing. When we asked her then how she got these high marks even though she wasn't studying, she dropped a bomb on us that made us feel the most anger we had ever felt in our entire lives. She told us that a week before her first math exams, the math teacher asked her to stay after class to have a word. He told her that she was failing and that there was no way she would be able to even answer the questions of the exam. She got worried and was about to cry, but he patted her on the back and made a deal with her. He told her that she would get high marks in the exam if she did something for him. As she explained, tears started running down my face and her father got so angry that he threw his mug across the room. The teacher had her touch him in secret so that she would get high marks. We broke down and kept yelling how she could do that, but she was just a kid and didn't understand what was happening, and she told us that she was just scared of failing. We sent her to her room and both of us were devastated. Her father swore that he would kill him, but I kept calming him down. We called the principal instantly, but she wouldn't believe us and told us that our daughter was just lying so she can get rid of him. We knew that if we called the police, we would need evidence, so we made a plan. Before we could do anything, we called the other parents and told them. They were all shocked and were going to school the next day in rage. We asked them if their daughters had any experience like this and they began to ask. One parent told us that he asked her daughter constantly to stay after school for extra enrichment, but she kept refusing and he became more insistent. That kid, even though she was a top student, later got a D in her math exams and she didn't understand why. Another parent told us that the teacher gave her daughter private lessons at home, and they always got a creepy vibe from him, but he never approached her for any reason. We started asking around the neighborhood, and some people told us that that teacher had a felony charge 10 years ago, but got hired at the school out of nepotism because he was the principal's brother-in-law, which made sense considering how she kept defending him so much. The next day, my husband went to school with our daughter and sat in the principal's office and called my daughter's phone. She went inside the math teacher's office after class and picked up her phone in her pocket. She talked to him about the thing he made her do and he started discussing it. We got a confession right in front of the principal, whose jaw dropped to the floor. As soon as the teacher said it, my husband ran from the principal's office to the teacher. He sent our daughter out and started beating the living hell out of the teacher. They were alone in his office, so he dragged him outside in front of the entire school and kept yelling pedophile. He went out with him in the field, where most amounts of the students and teachers were there, and started beating him up violently, especially in the crotch area, and threatened anyone that came near him with a gun. He kept yelling about the entire situation and what the teacher did, and the teacher didn't get any sympathy from anyone, of course. The other teachers were so disgusted that they just let my husband beat him up, and he did. He didn't use his gun on him, the gun was only there to keep the others away, but he kept wailing down on him and kicked him violently on the ground. The kids kept cheering my husband as he beat him down. Eventually, the security had to step in when the teacher was in a pool of blood and couldn't move. The cops were called, obviously, and my husband was arrested. At the police station, when he explained the entire situation, the officers told him that he was a hero even if he was extreme, and that they had to do their jobs. When the teacher went to the hospital, we found out that he was put in the emergency room and barely survived, but he was paralyzed from the waist down. My husband got prison time, though, and was sentenced to 3 years. Right now, he is 1 month away from being free. The school was put under investigation, of course, and the principal was fired for ignoring the allegations at first. Many parents had their kids switch schools after the scandal, and a lot of teachers left, as well. After the teacher got out of the hospital, he was also sentenced to prison. As for our daughter, I had her homeschooled with special needs teachers for her dyslexia, and she started doing much better in a private, controlled environment. Now she is 15, and as she got older she started understanding the trauma of what happened, and she became frightened of schools in general. She started doing better in her subjects, but she excelled at sports, especially karate, which she started to learn after the whole ordeal. We struggled without her dad for 3 years though, but our daughter still saw him as a hero for what he did to the teacher. We lived with my brother, who was not married, and we had to wait for my husband to get out. Now, here is the end of our today's story. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching my content. And, in my opinion, we can't blame OP's daughter for what happened to her. The maths teacher was a monster who is a burden on the planet. After what he did to so many innocent girls, any punishment or sentence would be small for him. Also, despite spotting so many red signals, the OP and her husband made several mistakes, but I still felt bad for OP's husband. Guys, I want to know your thoughts about this story in the comments section. And before leaving, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories. Now, moving to our final story, which is a small story about OP's horrible sister-in-law, who destroys OP's precious gift. Now story. I am F35 and my SIL is F46. I have 3 children, the oldest being 16M. For my birthday last week, my son went out and bought me this swinging hammock chair that I had been wanting for 2 years, and it cost him quite a bit of his saved money, which I fully intend to put back into his bank account so he can continue saving. He was so excited to see me open this gift and couldn't wait to help me set it up. I told him he shouldn't have, that it was a lot of money, and his response was, "You never get anything nice. I wanted you to have it," and it was true. I usually don't get anything for my birthday or Christmases outside of Tupperware or soaps. So it might sound stupid, but I have cherished this swing ever since he got it for me, especially when I finally have something nice that's mine. My SIL comes over once a week to see all of us, and she immediately headed straight for my swing, which my son hooked up on our deck. I told her to please not sit on it, and she said, "Is there a weight limit?" So I told her yes, 250 pounds, and I even showed her the box to confirm. She was not upset about this. She just said, "That's a bummer, they need to make something capable of holding us big girls." I simply agreed with her and went about my business. At this point, my husband shows up from work. When I went inside to grab us some drinks, she and my husband are talking on the porch, and not even 5 minutes later I hear a loud crash, and my husband say, "Duck, are you alright?" I go out and sure enough, she had sat in my swing and the crochet netting around the hook snapped on one side, causing her to fall right on her ass. She is sitting there laughing, gets up, and says, "I guess I need to learn to listen, so I lost it." As I said above, I never get anything nice. Never. This is the one thing that I had that was mine, and it didn't even take someone a freaking week before they ruined it for me. So I said, "I just ducking told you not even 20 minutes ago that it would not hold you and to please not ducking sit in it." She makes some comments, usually the weight limit is a lie. I thought it would hold. So I said, "The weight limit probably would have held if you were only 50 pounds heavier than it, not 150. She is 420-ish pounds because she is one of those girls who eat food on camera for the money, and she loves her weight. But regardless, instead of apologizing or offering to compensate me for my destroyed item, she has resorted to saying I'm a shitbag for making her feel like her weight is a problem and my husband is on her side. It's just a fucking swing. Am I the a-hole? Now, this concludes our video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And, in my opinion, OP still is the jerk, because she was informed about the hammock's limitations, yet she still sat on it. I felt so bad for OP, and she should tell her husband to buy a new one because it's just a ducking swing. Guys, please share your thoughts on this story in the comments section. So, before you leave, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to remain updated on more fantastic stories.